Good morning. It is Saturday. It is almost mid-November. It's already the 11th. We had dance class this morning and now we are home and the kids are playing outside and I am curling up. It is chilly out, so I am curling up under my Christmas blankie, and I did start yesterday one of my jar picks, 50 Words for Rain by Asha Lemy. She just came out with, or is coming out with next month, I think, another book. And this was my jar pick for November. And I was like, okay, I want to give this a try. We went to, or tried to, yesterday was Veterans Day. So we had the kids off from school and I had the day off of work. So we decided to go to Vermont. And we tried to take the kids to Manchester. We tried to go to Hildene and walk around the museum. And I don't know if I already said it, but it's Abraham Lincoln's son's house. And let me turn this down. I am glad that we went for the history. I had forgotten about like the gardens, and obviously it's almost winter, so the gardens were like dying and did not plan it that well. And then the kids just were not having it, like did not want to walk around. My son got yelled at for sitting on one of the couches that was roped off. So we walked around that for maybe half an hour and then looked outside at all the land and the, you know, hills and the mountains. And then we thought we would go walk around Manchester and do like the outlets, and we made it to 2 stores. Everybody was melting, so then we just decided to give up and go home. But then in the car on the way home, they were like, I'm hungry, I want to go to a restaurant. So we ended up stopping and having dinner, which was like the nicest part of the day, but it was a little frustrating that like we didn't get to do everything that we wanted in the way that we wanted. But it is what it is. So we are just hanging out at home today. Dance class this morning, and then my husband had the kids outside for a little bit while he was doing the yard. So I think we're just gonna hang out. I think he might start Iron Flame, and I am going to continue with 50 Words for Rain. I am loving it so far. So it is starting off so tragic. I'm only 40 pages in and it is intense. Her mother leaves her at the front gate of her grandparents' house, and her mother had her through an affair. I believe she was married before and she had her through an affair, and she is, I think, also mixed race. So when she arrives at her grandparents, they treat her inhumanely. They give her bleach baths on her skin. They tell her she's ugly, she's not smart, that she can't ask questions, she can't leave her room. It just is heartbreaking and very emotional to read, but there's so much power in Asha Lemy's writing style that I just know it's gonna be a 5-star for me. Like, I can already tell, and it's one of those that like I want to savor it. I'm trying not to like fly through it, but it is such an easy read. Like, you're so invested off the bat that like you don't want to put it down. So I do think I'll be finishing it this weekend, and then I have like a pile of stuff that I want to get to this month, but I do want to try to get my jar picks done first. So I'm trying to do that. I have a lot of audiobooks that I have on my phone. I have a couple NetGalley books that I just got, so I'm just a little overwhelmed with my choices, but I just am in the mood to read, so that is what we're doing today. Okay, so I'm on chapter 4, almost 70 pages in, and her brother, she has a brother who comes to stay with the grandparents. I think his father passes away. And so she sneaks out. She's not supposed to leave her room. She sneaks out, goes to his room, and is like, I just wanted to talk. And he asks her a couple of questions about herself. And she basically says, like, she's never left the house. She's never left her room. And 2 days later, the grandmother comes over to her room and is like, it's been brought to my attention that little girls need exercise, so you're gonna be free to roam the house as long as your maid is with you, or like person to watch her. So she runs down the stairs to find her brother, and she has like a little bit of a meltdown, but then he says, if you would like to read with me, I'm going upstairs to read. He gets her ice cream. She's never had ice cream before, and she is just wondering, why doesn't he hate me like everybody else? And it is just so sweet. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I hate how she's treated, but I love him being there to counteract everything. But like, she has to be so freaking, like, girlfriend needs therapy. Oh, I just can't imagine like locking a child in, like, I know it's just like the time period, like it's 1940s, 1950s in Japan, but like, it's just heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking to read how she is treated, and him like being in a position of power, he's just breaking down some of the rules and some of the stigma that the house has been carrying and forcing on her. So good. Hands are cold, baby. Put them under the blanket.
I fall on my head and left my head.
Yeah, how? Think you were running, or what happened?
I just fell on my frame, but it didn't work. Baby told us. Baby told us. That one I did.
Okay, let's try that again. I just broke up a fight between my kids and I raised the camera a little bit. So anyway, I would like to go over my October reads because I forgot to do that. I think I only read like 7 or 8 books last month, which isn't a lot, but I reached my goal anyway, so I'm kind of just taking it easy. The first one that I read was The Ex-Hux by Erin Sterling. I give it 3.5 stars. Just seemed like something that would be like a little bit forgettable for me. I wasn't really enveloped in the characters. So this is about Vivian and Reese. They broke up and then like a couple years go by. I think it's like 8 or 9 years, maybe 10. And he comes back to town because his family like owns businesses in town or something. And his dad tells him to go back in town and take care of like some ceremony. And after they broke up last time, Vivian cursed him, and it was It was like a drunken thing that she did with, I don't know if it's her cousin or her friend, but she like, her and her friend were drunk after the breakup and she like cursed him. But now that he's in town, stuff is happening and she's like, oh my god, did I really actually curse him? Is this all my fault? And so she feels a little bit obligated to help him, even though she doesn't really also want to be around him. It was good for like the start of fall or like Halloween to read something like that. I just don't really have an interest in picking up the second book. I don't know. There was like, you know, the back and forth between the characters was nice, and it sort of picked up in certain places and then slowed down and picked up and slowed down. And it was good. Like I would recommend it for like the start of Halloween, like that kind of season. I just like, it's not something, I'm glad that I think I had it on Kindle. I'm glad that I didn't like get a physical copy. Like, I don't know. It's not something I would reread. After that, I read Measuring Up by Lily Lamott. This was a graphic novel, YA graphic novel. I gave it 4 stars, probably 4.5, honestly. I have notes over here, so that's what I'm looking at. But Cece and her mom and dad moved from Thailand to America. I believe it was Thailand, yeah. They moved to Seattle, but her primary caretaker was her grandmother, and she unfortunately stays behind. And so she says for her 70th birthday that's coming up in a couple months, she wants to somehow get her a flight to come visit the US. And her parents can't afford it, and they're working all the time. And she sees a cooking competition and enters and, you know, starts practicing and figuring stuff out. And there's so much more to the story than just the cooking competition and getting her grandmother there. There is, you know, commentary on the American dream. Like, her parents moved to the US with her to give her a better life, and they're working all the time. She never sees them. Their expectations of her are, you know, to follow in their footsteps and just be very successful professionally. And at a young age, she is wondering, like, what is it that I want to do? And what do I want to be good at? And then there is, you know, conversations about the kids in her school and how she, you know, wants to make her lunches Americanized. She wants white bread and cheese and not her like traditional food because people are making fun of her. And there's just so much in that story, and it was so, I thought, just so well done. The illustrations were also really good. And yeah, it was just a very wholesome story. I now want to look and see if she's written anything else, because I would read her stuff 100%. Definitely recommend. After that, I picked up Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I got that on Kindle Unlimited. I gave it 3.5 stars. So this is magical realism, which I do like. I don't think I realized that it was going into it. I knew it was like a war story, and something about passing letters back and forth. I think you hear that a lot through YouTube and BookTube. It's about like letters and the enemies to lovers or something. But Iris and Roman work together at their newspaper, and then she has an awful upbringing. Her brother, who is like her best friend, the one that looks out for her, goes off to war. I don't know if she ever met her dad, but her mom ends up passing away. She struggles with addiction, and so she is like, you know what, this house isn't my home, I'm out of here. And she goes to work for a different newspaper that is reporting real stories from the war and not just fabricating and covering things up like the one that she was working at. So she decides to leave, and Roman ends up following her, and the entire time she thinks he's gonna try to best me like he did the last place. Like, I don't know why he's like out for me to show me up, and why he's, you know, following her. But come to find out that the letters that she was passing, do I even want to go any further? Because I don't want to be... Okay, so spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. If you haven't read it, skip ahead a little bit. The letters that she was passing on her typewriter, which is a story in itself. It's you know, magical thing that was passed down generationally. She was typing to her brother, and come to find out it was going to Roman because he has another one of the typewriters, and she doesn't know that he is the one behind the letters because he signs it with his middle name instead of his first name. And by the end of the book, there's a couple of twists. I did really enjoy it. I think it is very fast-paced. I get why so many people are talking about it. The thing that really bothered me the most was the character development. Like, it's not even development. The characters were very... Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it was intentional. The characters are very... I don't want to say unsteady. I don't know the word I'm looking for. They're very flip-floppy. They're back and forth. Some moments they have like mental clarity and they, you know, are very mature and, you know, they've gone through a lot in their lives. And then there's other times where they're just completely immature and you're like, is this the same person? And then it just goes back and forth, and it's like, it made them not unreliable because like the story was very reliable. It's just, I don't know. Something about the characters like honestly frustrated me a little bit, but needless to say, I will read the second book when it comes out. I did really enjoy it. It definitely was not what I expected. Like I said, I didn't realize the magical realism aspect of it. So I did enjoy it. After that, I finished Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. I gave that one 3 stars. This was about 4 female friends who were co-workers who have been assassins basically their whole life. They were a team, and someone starts targeting them out of their, what do they call it? The board? Yeah, the board, I thought they called it something else. But the people above them that give them like their orders and directions and stuff, or their targets, start trying to pick them off. And they're on this trip together. They realize what's happening. They kind of make this plan. But, you know, stuff has changed from the last time that they did it. And, you know, they're in an older age. I think they're in their 60s. And it was interesting. It was definitely thrilling. I think some parts were... there was, like, trying to be a little bit of, like, comedic relief. I don't know. This was another one that I didn't really relate fully to the characters, and that's okay. Not that I didn't relate to them, I just didn't really care. I was there for the storyline. I think that's what made it so good. Like, I wasn't there for the characters, I was there for like the plot and what happens next. But yeah, it was good. I would recommend. I did like her writing, and which is good because I do have other books of hers that I am going to give a try eventually. But yeah, it's just a group of 4 women in their 60s, and they try to figure out, you know, how to get back at this board, who initiated all of this stuff that started happening, and they're just in different places in their lives now. I think, I want to say it went back and forth to like old... It did. It went back to like some of their old, how they met in their group or how they came to be a part of it. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know. I haven't heard that many reviews on it. I'm definitely not putting this like eloquently, but I would read it again. No, I wouldn't read it again. I would recommend it. Okay. Sunday, guys. This is only my 2nd cup of coffee. After that, I DNF'd September House by Carissa Orlando. So I did not rate it. I DNF'd at, I want to say 30%. I did buy it on Kindle, which I honestly am frustrated that I even bought it in the first place. I wish I just got it from the library. Margaret and her husband, I don't even remember his name, move into a house that is haunted. The walls bleed every September. It is, like I said, haunted by ghosts, and Margaret comes to terms with all of it. Nothing is weird for her. She has conversations or just lets the ghosts linger with no issue. There's no, like, she just is there. And then her husband goes missing or dies. I'm not really sure because I didn't read all of it. And the daughter calls her to check in and is like, how is dad doing? And she's like, oh, I don't know. He's not here. She's like, what do you mean he's not here? Yeah, he just, I haven't heard from him in a while. And the daughter's like, don't you think that's weird? Like, it was so frustrating, and I was like, I am not even pushing myself to read this. Like, in the beginning, you literally are told, we don't know why the walls bleed. She never finds out. She never, like, then what is the purpose of this story? Like, to just creep us out? Because it's not creeping us out, because the character's not creeped out by it. Like, what is supposed to happen here? Are we supposed to care about the husband that we don't know anything about? Like, granted, I did not give it enough of a chance. Normally I get closer to 50% before I decide if I'm going to DNF it, but I could not push myself through this. And some people are saying the same thing, that they could not. And some people are saying, yeah, it was a good book. Like, it wasn't the best horror slash, mystery, not mystery, like thriller, dark vibes. Like, but they would, recommend it for like the season. Just wasn't for me, and kind of bummed about it because it sounded so good in the beginning, and I was at a bookstore and came so close to actually buying a physical copy. I would be pissed if I spent $30 on a hardcover for that. I feel like I'm gonna spill this, so I'm gonna take a sip. Your girl just got upset. After that, I read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. That was one of my jar picks. I gave it 4 stars. Sorry, listening to make sure none of my kids are crying downstairs. David is an American. He's living in Paris. He has a fiance, a woman, who is traveling abroad without him. And he has a crappy relationship with his dad. So he decides to go to Paris. He doesn't really mend the relationship with his dad, and I wish that was touched on a little bit more, to be honest. It was definitely a good introduction to it, but I do wish that there was more to it towards the end. But anyway, he meets, a couple of friends. He goes out, he drinks, has conversations, and then he meets Giovanni. He has an immediate connection with. They eventually end up sharing you guessed it, a room. And so it's, more than roommates, it's an infatuation. I don't even know if I would say lovers. It's honestly an infatuation. And then towards the end, it is, a very hard conversation about letting people go out of your lives. And his fiance returns, and she meets everyone, and she can see that there's, a connection between him and Giovanni, and she asks some questions. There is a twist at the end, although it's foreshadowed in the beginning, but there is a twist at the end that I didn't really necessarily expect, as far as what happens to Giovanni. And I don't think I really understood it at first in the beginning when it is foreshadowed, but I just think his writing is so elegant, and it was such a beautiful story. Heartbreaking, but not in a very blatant way or like upfront way, if that makes sense. Definitely one of my favorite classics, I would say. And then the last one that I read for October was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I gave that 4.5 stars. That was another one that I did not expect the ending to go the way that it did, and I, again, loved it. His writing was very, very good as well. I wouldn't say elegant in the same way as James Baldwin, but it was very capturing. Like, I did not want to put it down, but not for, I would say, the plot line, because the plot towards like the middle to end did kind of waver a little bit for like my interest, but I don't know. I think it was just like I just loved his writing and just wanted to keep reading. Anyway, Dorian sits for a picture by this guy named Basil. It's supposed to capture his youth. Basil becomes a little infatuated with Dorian, although that's a very basic thing. Like, it's touched upon and it's mentioned, but there's no like proof of the infatuation. So that was definitely a weird aspect of it, I guess. But the older that Dorian gets, he thinks, you know, the picture is going to stay the same. It's going to show his youth, represent his youth, and he's not going to be that same person anymore. And as he gets older, it's almost like a Benjamin Button effect. He stays youthful in his looks. The picture gets uglier, and by the end, he has done the ugliest of things, but his physical features stay the same. But the picture portrays everything about him that has gone wrong. And there's more to it than that, which is why it was so good. So I highly, highly recommend this. I think it is more than just a discussion about vanity, but I think it has so much to do with like who you are at your core. And I don't know, I am very much one for like photography and capturing moments, but it was such a different like vision into that kind of concept, you know, about like freezing time and like who you are over the stretch of time. And it was very good. So right now I am currently reading 50 Words for Rain. I think I got to like page 120 last night, so I only read, what was I on at first? I only read like 60 pages, I think 50 or 60 pages. It is so beautiful. I know I touched on it a little bit last night, so I don't want to repeat myself, but I am loving it. Oh my goodness. Loving it more than I thought I would, honestly. I knew that it would be like a beautiful, I knew it would be a beautiful story, but I didn't know how good the writing would be. So I am just pleasantly surprised. So good. I'm actually going to go read some more right now, but I did want to show you my plan. Oh, now my head's gone. Bummer. Will this work? I'll kind of hunch down. I did want to show you my plan because the other jar pick that I had for November this month was the Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. So I am going to be picking this up right after. And then I also got the Unabridged Journals of Sylvia Plath, which I did not realize would be so big, but I'm definitely going to be taking this a little bit at a time, but I am excited to chip away at it. This is actually ginormous. It's over 600 pages. But then I also forgot that I had this, 3 Martini Afternoons at the Ritz, The Rebellion of Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton. And I had started reading Anne Sexton's poetry, and I just forgot this was on my shelf, and it actually came up, I want to say, oh no, you know what, it came up on my audiobook selections on my library app, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be, you know, read it along while I'm listening to it. So I'm definitely going to kind of do these back to back, or maybe tandem, and then kind of just maybe next weekend chip away a little bit at this and see, you know, what this is all about. I don't know that much about her at all besides the dark, you know, mental health, I think. Am I getting her confused with somebody else? It might be. I thought she was like the, you know, the dark depression, mental health issues. I feel like I might be mistaken. Anyway, that's my plan. I did try to start Ghost by Dolly Alderton, and can someone tell me if it's just me? The mom is so frustrating. It was only like the second chapter, and I'm like, ugh. I don't know. I put it down for right now because I'm just like not in it. I do really want to pick up The Idiot by Elif Botman. I do want to pick that up because I've seen a lot of people pick that up recently, and I'm just having FOMO. I want to see what it's about. And then I do have a couple Christmas books that I want to get to too. So yeah, let me know what you are reading down below. What was your favorite from October? That I would like to know. If you liked today's video and like my content, please subscribe down below. Or is it down below or is it over here? Somewhere. Press the red button and I will be posting more soon. Happy holidays almost, and happy fall, I guess. I'm in the Christmas mindset, but it is still fall, so happy fall. Cheers. Keep reading. Bye.